Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Kavanaugh's Corner. I'm Andrew Kavanaugh. Thank you for coming back to us. Today is my third part of the 8-part review series of MacGyver, this suave-looking guy behind me here. I'm looking at the entire series and the two made-for-TV movies that came out a few years after the show had ended. And today I'm looking at the third season of the show. The third season aired, I think, around 87, 88. And it's an interesting season. This season actually has a great two-part opener. I think it's called Lost Love, and it's a great it's a great way to start the season. It's kind of a throwback to the original pilot of the show. And it's nice. It actually puts MacGyver in some pretty hairy situations, gives MacGyver a nice love interest, and it's a really interesting, involving story. I liked it. I thought it was a really good way to start the season. This season also kind of makes me beg the question, how many fucking girlfriends does MacGyver have? He has so many ex-girlfriends. We've gone through probably 20, 30 of them by now. And they just keep coming, man. There's just so many ex-girlfriends. I wish I had that many ex-girlfriends. But he's had a lot. And I think that's one thing this season kind of starts to stretch a little bit, is how many women has MacGyver had. It is crazy. He is a very charming fellow, but I mean, my God, man, like, holy crap, he moves fast. Anyway, the writing this season is actually something of interest, too. The writing this season starts to deal with current events. Something that, ironically, Season 3 of Miami Vice also did when Dick Wolf started handling that show. This series started to deal with more topics that were pressing things that were popular during the time. There's an episode in this season where they deal with toxic waste dumping, and there's another episode that deals with endangered species. There's a couple of them like that, where they try to push some kind of message. And that also kind of goes on throughout the series from here on out, too. And it doesn't always work, sadly. For a show that started off mainly in the vein of adventure, when you start dealing with more serious current-day events, the show begins to be less about MacGyver and more about pushing a message. And it's not always good in that aspect. It's nice to see MacGyver be passionate about these things. It's nice to have a character that has a conscience and is kind of a bleeding heart when it comes to these things. But some of these episodes are really cheesy. And I mean really, really cheesy. And this is kind of the first season where we start to deal with extremely cheesy episodes. There's one episode where MacGyver is basically in no danger throughout the entirety of the episode, and he's basically just coaching an ice hockey team with kids. And it's really not anything near what the show starts off as. I think that happens like midway through the season. I do not recall the name of the episode off the top of my head, but it is really not what the show was about when it first started. And sadly, again, that's something that becomes more prevalent as the show goes on. Again, there are still many exciting episodes in here. MacGyver is still pretty creative in terms of creating things to get out of certain situations, whether it be tools or just getting out of an area or starting a car, anything like that. He's still shown as a very creative fellow in this season, so it's really nice to see that. Something that's kind of interesting, too, is that they changed the theme song again for the third year in a row. They changed the theme song. This time it goes back to more of what it was like in the first season, only it's much shorter now for whatever reason. They cut it almost in half. But again, it's still a pretty good season. There are some really exciting episodes. Like I said, the standout to me is the two-parter. The first couple episodes of the season are actually really, really entertaining. Also, Jack again makes another return appearance, and his episodes, all of the episodes he's in, are actually really, really well done in this season. He kind of wore out his welcome in the second season, but this one here, his appearances are a little more sporadic, but they're really, really well done, and I really liked Jack's Jack's. He kind of evolves in this season. It's nice to see him kind of develop as a character, so that was cool. Mac's hair, again, mainly stays the same in this season. It's not really anything too crazy. Nothing really too different from the second season. But, again, this is another season where they spend a lot of time in Canada. And there's more episodes where there's just rain and stuff. And, again, it's not the greatest looking season of television. But I found it to be very exciting. I found the stories to be still kind of involving at this point. And I like the fact that they dealt with a few issues that kind of needed to be talked about at the time. I like the endangered species episode, actually. I thought that was actually a really good episode. And, touches a place in my heart because I'm an animal lover, so it was nice to see MacGyver become passionate about that sort of thing. Overall, Richard Dean Anderson still at the top of his game at this point in the season, in these seasons, I should say, in the show. I give this season, it's a little bit less than the last one. I give it like a 3.5 out of 5, 3.5 out of 5. It's still entertaining, still a great TV show. There's a couple misses this season, but nothing too crazy to sway you away from the show. I say, again, if you're watching it along with me, keep watching it, all right? And we'll be back next time with Season 4 of MacGyver, which is a very interesting season of the show. Some changes happen in this season, and I can't wait to talk about them. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.